Hi everyone, Jillian Jameson here with the Jameson team at Lively Real Estate. This week for the Community Spotlight, I'm bringing on my personal real estate coach, Charlie Bengel. He's with the Tom Ferry Organization, and he also is the CEO of REMAX in the Washington, D.C. area. He's a national real estate coach, so we thought he'd be a great guest to bring on to discuss what's going on across the country in real estate. So welcome, Charlie. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation. Always good to be with you, Jillian.
Well, thank you. So I'm just going to get right into it. As
Sure.
a national real estate coach, what are you seeing going on across the country in real estate?
Well, we're into what, week 8 or 9 of this, I feel like. I feel like we've kind of settled into a new normal in most areas. Most areas, real estate agents were deemed essential and have been able to work. Had a few issues in some states, Pennsylvania being one of them, I think, Michigan certainly being one of them, where it was more of a lockdown situation, but that's even starting to lift. So, overall, I feel like, buyers that need to buy are buying, sellers that need to sell are selling. The good agents like yourself have pivoted, right? And they have kind of settled into this new normal of upping their marketing, virtual showings, things like that. So I'm pleasantly surprised at how things are going. I think when this whole thing hit a couple months ago, we just didn't know what to expect. And we had been having a pretty decent year. A lot of the Northeast did not have much of a winter. It was just a really brisk winter going into spring. And then this thing hit a couple months ago, and for a few weeks things stopped. But I'm seeing that kind of recover, around the country with showings getting back to, a more normal state.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And how have your things been in Washington, D.C. specifically?
Yeah, so I manage Remax Allegiance. We've got 13 offices and 300 agents, mostly metropolitan DC. I've got about 35 agents down in Virginia Beach as well. So let's kind of start down there. Things have been more normal down there because it's a really suburban area. When COVID first hit, the first few weeks, I think in DC, things really stopped. In DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia, we still have the stay-at-home order. We're not partially open like a lot of the country yet. That said, people are still selling, people are still buying. Like I mentioned, just as an example, within 30 miles of the White House in the last week, we've had 1,486 new listings, 1,861 pendings, and nearly 1,200 sales. So we're actually getting more under contract than is coming on, which is amazing if you consider, there's still some people that aren't comfortable right now, right? So again, I've been pleasantly pleased with how things are going, and the fact that, the good agents have, whether I coach them or manage them, they've pivoted and they continue to help their clients transact.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I know personally in our area, we definitely saw a big increase in showings once things started opening back up a couple
Right.
weeks ago. It was
Definitely.
a big change. So
Yeah, I know. So Michigan, getting back to kind of the entire country, the first day they were back open and deemed essential, they had 1,000 new listings just in the metro area of Detroit. So
oh,
that's the pent up demand, right? So there's definitely people that, want to sell and buy, and they're just waiting for the right opportunity.
mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. Um, how are you seeing agents, buyers, and sellers pivoting successfully in the current environment?
Yeah, so let's start with agents. The lazy agents have had to do more than the agents that were already on the cutting edge, right? So ideally, we were already using virtual tours. Ideally, we already had video, right? The agents that just put up a sign and lockbox and had a few photos, they've had more of a problem, right? Because people, that's not good exposure for that particular listing. So we've certainly seen, a great increase in the use of video and the use of Matterport 3D, or, the Rico 3D feature of featuring listings. I think buyers that are comfortable, they're putting on masks and gloves and kind of properties, and the sellers have been prepping the properties, by leaving lights on, doors open, the door unlocked and open, kind of they leave as soon as the agent gets there, and adhering to the social distancing stuff. So I think it's just a matter of, there's been more cooperation, I think, among all the agents and buyers and sellers. And, we've had to go virtual open houses and some of the showings. You've got some sellers that are, on Zoom or FaceTime that are doing showings of their home. And, that's not what they expected to do, a few months ago, but it tends to be working out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yeah, I know the Matterport has been huge. Our company, or my company, has always used it, but it's
Yeah.
been a huge benefit to have that, even just to send it to buyers before they come into the home, just to make sure that they're actually really interested in the home, just to cut down the contact there. So that's
Oh, absolutely. And, you have to wonder, is that going to be the new normal? Instead of, spending a day with buyers, is the future going to be, okay, buyers, narrow it down. Hopefully we'll have the video, the Matterport, the floor plans, right? So they can narrow it down a bit before we go and, enter into someone else's space.
mm-hmm.
That would be my hope. I think it could save everybody time.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what have you been seeing with pricing?
So, if there are buyers out there thinking that prices are going to collapse and they're going to get a great deal, I hate to break the news to you, but I don't think it's going to happen. We've seen prices continue to rise in the DC metro market. I coach about 25 clients, mostly on the eastern side of the country, and I don't have anybody telling me that prices have gone down, of any significance. Earlier this year, we were in multiple offer situations, and we still are in the metro DC area. So maybe instead of having 8 offers to compete with, the buyer may have 2, right? So maybe it's not escalating as much over list price as perhaps it would have a couple months ago, but we're still seeing, escalations. Property that shows well in a good location, priced appropriately, is still selling in a weekend. And, I'm just not seeing prices going down. I think Zillow's reporting 1 to 2% price decreases nationwide. I don't know where in the nation that's going to be, to be honest. I just don't see it happening because of the pent up demand. We had a pent up demand before COVID, and now we kind of had this, weird pause for a few weeks, and now we're slowly getting back to normal. So there's even more demand. So I don't see prices going down.
Okay, I agree with you there. So,
Good.
And then my last question is, what advice do you have for buyers and sellers?
I think there's opportunities for both if they're comfortable, right? So safety first, that's one thing we've been preaching all along to agents, buyers, and sellers, safety first. We don't want to take anybody kicking and screaming through a house, right? And we don't want, if you're 80 years old and at high risk for COVID, maybe now is not the time to list, right? Wait a few months. That said, interest rates are super low. They keep going down. It seems like every other week we're hitting record lows. So there's opportunities for buyers. I have a little bit of concern about the liquidity in the mortgage market and the fact that there might be some credit score requirements, increasing. There may be some unique mortgage programs out there that may be going away, right? Because the investors are not as interested in buying mortgages right now as perhaps they were several months ago. So if you're a buyer and you're approved and you're comfortable, I would jump on it now while rates are low and while you're still qualified. We've seen a few instances of people being qualified one day, then the requirements increase and they're not approved anymore, right? So we don't want to see that happening. If you're a seller and you're comfortable, work with your agent to set up those virtual showings to limit the number of in-person showings. And then when it's time for the in-person showings, you can have people sign COVID forms that says, that they haven't been sick. You can put signs up on the door, et cetera, et cetera. Just let one person through the house at a time. Wear the booties, gloves, masks. And, the good agents that are showing homes are not letting their clients touch anything anyway. And then you just have to, you got to have your hands on some Clorox wipes and, wipe down your house when the showings are over. I rent out my house in Florida when I'm not here. And when we arrived, even though the house had been cleaned, we got out the Clorox wipes and we wiped down everything, right, that somebody could have touched. That just, made sense for us. So I think that there's great opportunities for buyers and sellers. Inventory around the country is so low. If you're a seller, now is a good time. As things begin to open up, we're going to see more listings come on the market, and that may increase your competition where right now there's very little of it.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I really appreciate getting the insight from you and you taking the time to talk to me today. And thank you so much.
Yeah, always good to see you. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks.
Thanks, you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.